Hi there, I'm Danielle Roberts, founding partner here at Boomer Benefits and author of the best-selling book, 10 Costly Medicare Mistakes You Can't Afford to Make. So I'm doing a little bit of a different format in today's video because I want to talk to you about a topic that I've been following pretty closely this year, and that is the impact of the Inflation Reduction Act on Part D in 2025. So if you are in our Facebook group or you follow us on any sort of social media, you will know that I've already been talking about this for quite some time, being concerned that when we cap the maximum out-of-pocket on medications in Part D plans to $2,000, so we're going from an $8,000 cap in 2024 to a $2,000 cap in 2025, what is going to happen to the premiums? Well, we know that part of the legislation talks about limiting the premium increases to 6%. But what many people don't know is that 6% is the limit only applies to the base beneficiary premium. And while Part D plans do consider and use that base beneficiary premium to figure up one part of their rates, they also use a number of other factors. So in fact, that 6% cap year to year was in effect for 2024, but we saw on average a premium increase of around 21% for Part D overall in 2024. So if that's how much it went up when all they did was remove the 5% coinsurance on the plans from last year, now when we see them cap everything at $2,000, I'm really concerned about what this may do to plans. So many of you know that I make a trip to Washington every year in February, and we meet with legislators about all kinds of Medicare issues. It gives me an opportunity to plug into people on the Hill and their staff and get a feel for what's going on. And some of the things that we were hearing this year were really alarming in relation to this. So first, we had heard that potentially premiums on Part D plans may double or even triple next year. We also heard that the carriers, because they will have less money to work with, one thing they're considering is not paying agents commissions to work on Part D. So if they cut us out of the picture completely, that gives them a little bit room to work with, which might be helpful in terms of premiums, but would also mean that 40 plus million people who shop their Part D plans every year will need to make some other arrangements. They can call 1-800-Medicare, they can call a SHIP counselor in their state, but they wouldn't have the help of agents. And even with all of that governmental help, that is not enough representatives and counselors available to help the number of people that need help with drug plans every single fall. And I think that that would be actually a disaster for the Part D program, but I am concerned that it could actually happen. I also think that we could potentially see the drug plan formularies get skinnier. So all Part D drug plans have certain classes of medications that they must cover. And then beyond that, they only have to cover at least 2 medications in every therapeutic class. Well, there are some drug plans out there on the market that are pretty robust, and they may cover 8 or 9 medications in a therapeutic class. But if suddenly they have a cap of 2,000, then all of a sudden we may see, okay, yeah, we only are going to offer 2, and it's going to be the 2 cheapest generics that we can find because we're trying to keep our plan in place. And if that's not enough, another concern that we may see is if they can't make those numbers work, then we see carriers or plans pulling out of the market. So we already know that one carrier, a rather large carrier in the Medigap market, but a smaller carrier in the Part D market, has folded up shop, thrown in the towel, we give up, and has notified us as agents that they won't be offering plans anymore next year. And so people affected by that will get a letter from that carrier in the fall telling them that they're pulling from the market and reminding them that they need to use the annual election period to find another carrier. That is never a good situation to find yourself in because not everybody opens up those annual notice of packets and reads them. And so you may have people that never actually realize that and then come January find out they don't have a drug plan. You would think that people who would all know this because we're watching TV and we see the Part D carrier commercials going off, and everybody should know that there's a major event changing. But I can tell you every year we get scores of calls in January from people that either didn't know their plan was no longer going to be in effect, or their plan changed from one plan to another and they transferred those people and they never opened up their annual notice of change packet and they never knew that. Or we may see people get caught off guard by they used to have a drug covered on their formulary this year and it's being dropped next year because the plan can no longer afford to cover it. Well, if you didn't read your annual notice of change and you don't know that till January, you could be locked in a plan all year long that doesn't cover an important medication that you need. So I have concerns about that. And then finally, I think I'm really concerned that if this is what happens and we have one group of people on Medigap plans, and Medigap plans have premium increases every year. They go up a little bit every year. That's just normal in the insurance world. Well, we already see people who for years will eat those premium increases, or they'll switch plans for as long as they can while they're still able to pass underwriting to keep their rates down. But there may come a point where they can't do that anymore and they're watching their rates go up. And maybe that's okay when they've been able to get a drug plan for $20. Or in this last year in 2024, we had a few plans out there offering zero premiums, really low premiums. I don't know that we'll see that again in the future. So if all of a sudden they go from a plan where they were paying a $20 or $30 premium, and now that same Part D plan is going to cost them $90 or $100, how many of those people are we going to see finally bite the bullet and look into a Medicare Advantage plan? I think we will see a wave of people leaving Medigap plans en masse to transition to Medicare Advantage because they just will feel like it's gotten too expensive to have Medigap and Part D. So the problem with this is that Medicare Advantage plans, most of them include a Part D plan built in, and that built-in Part D plan is going to have all the same changes that are affecting the standalone Part D market. Now, we may not see as big an impact on the Medicare Advantage plans in 2025 because Advantage plans have all of the money that they receive from Medicare, from the federal government, for the Part A and B services. So when you join a Medicare Advantage plan, Medicare pays the Medicare Advantage plan well over $1,000 a month plus bonus money potential to take on your medical risk. And so since they're making so much money on the A and B side, they may be able to weather the storm a little bit better on the Part D side, okay? However, how long could that go for? So if they may also make their formularies skinnier, they may offer the less of the therapeutic drugs to try to cope with things, to try to keep the premiums as low as possible for you. But how long can that go on before we start seeing that affect the Medicare Advantage benefits as well? So I would imagine when we do start seeing it affect Medicare Advantage plans, we would see it more in some of the ancillary benefits being repealed. So if you've had a plan that has a robust Part D built in Medicare Advantage and it has a dental benefit, maybe next year that dental benefit isn't as strong, or maybe next year there isn't a dental benefit. Or maybe you've got a plan that provides vision coverage or gym membership or transportation benefits or a Part B premium buyback. How long are we going to see those things actually being offered at the level of benefit they are now when suddenly all of these plans have to lower that cap to $2,000? And then, of course, we don't know what's going to happen with the Medicare prescription drug layaway program. There is a new provision in the Inflation Reduction Act for next year that is going to allow people to defer payment for their medications at the pharmacy and get billed by their Part D plan instead. So let's say you're standing at the pharmacy counter and they tell you that you need to cough up $550 for a medication. Maybe you're meeting your deductible or whatever, and you opt into the program that lets you pay that out over the course of the year. You say, thanks, no thanks, I'll take my medication, I'm not going to pay anything today. Well, now the Part D plan has to bill you. Okay, well, creating that kind of billing and tracking mechanism also costs a Part D plan and a Medicare Advantage plan that has a built-in Part D money. Administering a program like that will be costly, and all of these things drive up premiums. So I'm here to say to you today, please stay tuned. We need to watch this very carefully this year. And typically from year to year, I think the last statistic, the last time I looked at this, which has been a couple of years ago now, was that around 11% of people shop or change their Part D drug plan every fall. And so if people have not been keeping up with this and they are not aware of it, they may see a huge impact to their formulary or their premiums or their drug copays, their plan in general, and they may not even know about it because they don't open their annual notice of change packet. So every time a carrier makes a change to their plan, they send you your annual notice of change packet in September. You need to open that up very carefully. This year, more than any other year, will be so important for you to review that information, because what we don't want to have happen is people don't do anything about it, and then come January, now you've got 3 medications that used to be covered that are not covered, and you're locked in that drug plan for a year. One of the things that I'm going to be advocating for is a special election period so that this year, which is likely to have the largest number of people ever making plan changes on Part D, if they don't get it done by December 7th and they didn't know that there was going to be a change, can they call into Medicare in January and have a one-time special election period to make a change to that drug plan? I think that is something that will really help a lot of people who otherwise get caught off guard by this. But don't let that be you. Now that you've watched this video, you know what's coming. Come on over to the Boomer Benefits Facebook group. You can find us on Facebook at the group called Medicare Q&A with Boomer Benefits. We have almost 80,000 people in our Facebook group, and you don't have to be a client, but we are in there every day talking about these things, answering each other's questions. And we would love to have you come and join us there, where you will see yours truly explaining more every week about what's happening with Medicare and keeping you up to date on these potential changes. So I hope to see you there. And